product, because that way it just takes a little bit of that pressure off. Like, well, it has to be super polished, or I don't have any graphics, or like my audio sounds like crap, or like it's lit poorly. I was just thinking this like a proof of concept, if anything else. So again, like you guys kind of mentioned, like the places you work at, maybe if you pick Rapid Deploy, the technologies like for, first responders, and maybe it's like, they're like, yeah, we don't really need this. We don't, that's not part of our overall marketing strategy. That's okay. That's fine. But you have like a concept, like a proof of concept that can at least, show that you understand like what this module is all about, right? Whether it actually gets used or not by your companies. As far as the storytelling part, maybe, or like, kind of coming up with an idea, right? Was that the part of your question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously the big thing is understanding your audience. Again, with the two examples I brought up with Wistia, because they know they're speaking to other video marketers like myself, right? One of the things that got me interested in it was a great question to ask someone like me is like, how do you produce at different levels? And I produced at like some, modest budgets, but nothing ever like at $100,000. I was like, so yeah, what does that look like on set? Like, what can you do with that much money? Like, where does it all go? So that's what drew me in, right? Because they knew their audience. Same thing with the Klaviyo thing. I thought it was really interesting that they did a good job of addressing how do you build an effective email marketing strategy for Black Friday, right? That was their main question. So, whatever audience you end up, so again, we'll pick Rapid Deploy. I know a little bit more about them than your agency stuff. But again, like, if you're trying to get whoever your target audience is, and we'll just say for simplicity, it's just like the chief of police or a first responder, right? Fireman, whatever. I'm sure it's someone else, but if that's the person making the decision, like what's going to capture their attention when it comes to your product, right? And what's a good story that you could tell to answer that question? So maybe it's like, and I'm just making stuff up, so you're going to know your audience better than I do. But if it's something like for Rapid Deploy, maybe the story is about, how do you increase safety for your police officers, right? Obviously, that's relatively timely with things going on. So there's probably a good story in there about just how do you keep them safe while they're on call, and to get to people faster. Or maybe it's a story from a perspective of an EMS, because those are going to obviously be two. Probably they both can use the technology, but those are two different audience segments. EMS is trying to accomplish something a little bit different than a police officer might, or a fire person might. Or so again, just maybe think about that. Think about what those stories could be. And just like we had that, just like that Klaviyo had that series with like the different customers, maybe, and that's where you kind of get creative with it, right? So like, if I was like the content marketing person, like I might think, okay, like if we wanted to build a series, something that's kind of bingeable, we could tell like how our tool services these people for like, police, firemen, and, EMS, and what that looks like, right? And it's just, in the way I would think about it, like a great example I've heard of is like someone who worked for Alienware was like, it's not about your product's more of like the background player, more maybe like the prop or tool that's used in it, but the stars or whatever the main story is, right? So again, why would cops be interested in using your tool? Why would a fireman? So answering those questions, knowing your audience and being able to answer those questions so you can tell a good story around that concept would be, I think, a way to go about it. Whether using Rapid Deploy or your agency as the case study.
Okay. Another question: if we did choose Rapid Deploy and we kind of went about that route, how is these videos supposed to be like somewhat like motion graphics type of thing, or like actual like footage? Because I feel like we might be a little bit limited in that ability.
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, maybe when we get back to the bigger group, we can answer it. But I would say, and this would be my recommendation to even DC, I guess, that I would recommend treating these more like a pitch. Because again, I think like the overall goal is like to be able to kind of build your storytelling abilities. And that's going to come through mostly in the script. That's going to come through mostly in your visuals. Again, whether that's actually something you shoot or it can even be through the storyboards, right? Because you can use, and I'll get to that when we get to the storyboard part, but you can use that to do animatics. So maybe like I would try and treat it as a proof of concept. But again, I'll kind of see when we get to the bigger group, we can ask Nadia. But yeah, there's also creative ways. We know we've had this problem. I'm producing a conference, a digital virtual conference. It's always been on demand. But this year we can't film anyone in studio like we normally do, or go out to film like we do on location. So actually, like this ring light that my camera is in is like a film kit that we sent out to all the different speakers. So there are some creative ways to do it. It's just a matter of like maybe figuring out what that looks like. And then again, depending on people's level of comfort, you can actually do film set stuff. It just depends on who you work with and what people are comfortable with. Because I've seen some people I follow on Instagram and YouTube on that they're back producing stuff and filming things. Usually with a smaller crew, but again, that's up to you. It's a personal decision. I can't. I don't want to advise on that, so I'll let y'all choose on that. But I think I think if you maybe at least take the pressure off, I think if it's like a pitch video, have something that's like visual that maybe is some whether it's just like animatic or something that you can film. I think that'll be good. Don't worry about it being really professional, and then just tell a good story, and that'll be the best way. And just ask that key question that your audience is going to be interested in knowing the answer to. Like I said, what Wistia did and what Clavio did.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I am going to jump to another room, but did y'all have any other questions before I do?
Not for now.
All right.
Thanks so much.